so excited to be here. My name is Dr. Laurie Mintz, and I'm a professor at the University of Florida, where I have the privilege of teaching the psychology of human sexuality to hundreds of students a year. I'm also a licensed psychologist and certified sex therapist in private practice. I also give trainings to other professionals, doctors, other healthcare providers, psychologists nationally on treating sexual concerns. And finally, I'm the author of 2 books, both aimed at empowering women sexually: A Tired Woman's Guide to Passionate Sex and Becoming Cliterate, Why Orgasm Equality Matters and How to Get It.
I love
Yes.
that, becoming cliterate.
Yeah, thank
Amazing
you. I
title.
cannot take credit for that. Actually, the term cliterate was coined by Ian Kerner in like 2004 when he wrote the book She Comes First, which is really an oral sex how-to manual.
Mhm.
And when I went to write my book, I asked him, can I use this word? And he said, the more people who use the word, the better the world will be. So he graciously said, go for it.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. I love that. And I love a queen that knows how to just, give the props where they're due. She's like, okay, I love it, but it comes from this, and I love that.
Thank you.
Definitely. So how did you get started in your field?
Well, it's kind of a long journey here, but the summary is I was raised in an unusually, like very unusually sex positive household, especially for my generation. I'm 63. And my mother was like super sex positive. I could tell you funny stories if you want, but
Sure.
I will hear them all.
so I'll circle back to the funny story, because it's really quite wonderful. So then I always knew I wanted to be a psychologist, but I never thought about being a sex therapist. But then I would always ask my clients about sex, even though I never had training in it officially, because I knew it was an important part of life. And I would say a good 90% of my clients would say, yeah, I do have a concern in that area, but I wouldn't have brought it up if you didn't ask. So
Right.
that made me really see a need. And then I did a deep dive I did self-training. I went to workshops and trainings and got certifications, because we don't learn about this in grad school, which is, or people don't learn about it in medical school. I talk to gynecologists now. And then I wrote my first book, and then like the scientist in me panicked, like, what if I put something out in the world that was harmful? Was lucky enough to be at a university, so I had students do these clinical trials on the book, found out they were effective. Then one thing led to the other. I got an opportunity to teach this undergrad class, which is when I became aware of the orgasm gap and wrote my second book. And now pretty much all I do is counsel, talk about, teach about sex. And it never gets boring to me, because I'm still learning new things. There's so much we still don't know
Right.
because of, yeah. So that's kind of a long-winded answer of a long tail.
No, that's fantastic. And like you said, it's amazing because sex is part of marriage. That's like one of the aspects of marriage. So it's surprising that's not more widespread
Exactly.
education.
Yeah.
And just part of like the woman's experience of discovery of her body. It's super interesting that you say you come from a sex positive home. I want to hear more about that, because I think that coming from a positive space really changes how a woman deals with her body. So tell me more about your sex positive home.
Yeah, so my mother was kind of a character, for better and for worse. Sometimes like what was in her brain came out of her mouth, but 2 stories that are really funny and really capture her was when she used to take a bath at night, and it was like precious time. No one could go in. But I was really worried about something. I don't know how old I was. I'm guessing like 8, 9, 10. Knock on the door. I have to talk to you. And she's like, it's my bath time. This has got to be important. And I was like, it's really important. She goes, okay, come on in. And she's like laying there. And I said, I have to tell you something. I'm really really worried, but I've been touching myself down there." To which she said, "Ah, that's what you interrupted my bath for?" She said, "Everyone does that. Just make sure you close your door when you do it. Now go away. I'm trying to take my bath." It was just so.
I love it.
And then the other story, I call it my first scientific experiment in sex. My father told me, or my parents told me, to not go into their nightstand drawer, which of course is an invitation to see what's in there. So I was like, I think I was about 12 or 13, and I snuck in there and I found condoms. And I don't know how I knew what they were for, but I certainly did. And I thought, "Oh, this is interesting." So every day I would sneak up to the drawer and count the condoms to see if we're missing. And then I felt so guilty. This time my mother was cooking dinner and I was like, "I have to talk to you. What do you want?" We sit down. I said, "I've been counting Daddy's condoms to see how many are missing. I've been doing this for a week and I'm sorry. I know that's really bad." With my mother barely missed a beat. She said, "Did we have a good week?"
Oh, she's fun.
And I
She's fun.
"I don't know." She goes, "Well, how many were missing?" I told her. She goes, "It was a pretty good week, but you need to stay out of the drawer now. And do you have any questions on sex?" It was just like no shame, just like fun and funny. So I think that really set the stage for what I do. Because like so many others, I didn't have that shame I had to overcome to become a sex educator or sex therapist.
Well, on that
And do you
topic,
think more, oh, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think that most sex therapists, sex educators get their into this business because they had those things they wanted? Because I always feel like therapists are really cool, but I always feel like therapists are also trying to fix something in a way, you know? And so I wonder if that's the same with sex therapists.
I don't really know. That would be a great study. I mean, I know so many sex therapists across the country, and I do think some got into the field because of their personal, maybe sexual trauma that they healed from, or really sex negative image, messages they had to overcome. I think others just got into it sort of the way I did, like wanting to be a therapist and realizing this was an important part of people's lives that wasn't getting talked about, or because of comfort. I think it probably runs the gamut.
Well,
But
do you have any advice for parents or anybody who is trying to cultivate a more sex positive household?
Yes, I do. Like, first of all, talk about it like you talk about anything else. Don't make it shameful. When a TV show comes on, I can't tell you how I've heard so many people saying, "Well, I never really was told anything negative, but we'd be watching TV and even kissing would come on and there'd just be this horrible, uncomfortable silence." Like, just talk about it, address it. Not a one-time conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. There's a great website and Instagram handle called Sex Positive Families. And they are amazing. And they have books and resources and classes and tips. And they break it down by age group too, to really help.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Because I think it's like, it's like anything could be introduced in small, like it's like if you're talking about finances, you don't tell a 4-year-old, "So we're here," and you don't give him a year-old, you give him a 4-year-old answer.
Right.
And it still you can bring that into the conversation. And I think that it's really interesting. I also I grew up with my mom was not sex positive, but very, very real. And so like I have a lot of ways about me personally that concern me, but I don't have the shame that when, like, if I say vagina, like I'm a dance teacher, so I'll say, "Throw your vagina," and people, and I was like, it is called a vagina, guys, and that's what you're gonna throw, the whole thing. And people are not comfortable. So how do you even help people get comfortable just to be able to say, something that's it's a body part, or, like my mom always said, I'm not going to teach my girls to call their vaginas a cookie,
Yeah.
because why? I mean, I guess you can eat the cookie, but you need to know the clinical name,
Right.
because there's some respect, I think, also to building that strength for your kids in a way.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. It shouldn't be a one-time conversation. And there's great books that you can read to kids too. There's a great book I love called Belly Buttons Are Navels. And it's like this little boy and this girl in the bathtub, and they're like, look, I have a belly button. You have a belly button. You have a nose. I have a nose. Ooh, what's that? That's a penis. Oh, what's that? That's a vulva. Like, it just is very, like, just starting, and introducing the words instead of these down there or cookie or euphemisms, like, no, and just having ongoing conversations.
Now, I saw your video about the vulva and I just shared it. I just want to know, so can you break it down? Because when we say vagina, the vagina is just the whole entire thing, or the vulva. Can you tell us what? I don't even know.
I would love to. I love that you're asking this, and I love that you brought up the difference between the vulva and the vagina, because the vulva is the external part of a female genital, and the vagina is the canal where babies come out, penises go in. But we call our entire genitals a vagina, which is linguistically and biologically incorrect. And but yeah, and here's my take on that. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad for using that word.
No, help me.
You're in good company with the rest of our culture, right?
Right.
But when you learn what the vulva is, you soon realize that by calling the entire structure of vagina, we're linguistically erasing the parts of ourselves that give us the most pleasure. And we're calling our entire genitals by the part that is more sexually useful to men than to women themselves. So let me break it down for you. Here's the my vulva puppet. Isn't she cute? So these are the outer lips, and they just protect what's inside. And they're analogous to the scrotum, the part that covers the balls, because males and females, we all come from the same parts. And then if you look in the vulva, when it's, the lips, you open them up, these are the inner lips, and they're actually chock full of touch sensitive hair, nerve endings. They're hairless. They're analogous to the foreskin, the shaft of the penis. The shaft. Now they're called inner lips, but it's normal for one to be bigger than the other, to protrude from the outer lips. Completely normal. We don't know that, but because we only see these fake images.
Yeah.
Now you follow the inner lips up, and they form the clitoral hood, which is analogous to the foreskin of the penis, also full of touch-sensitive nerve endings and erectile tissue. Under the foreskin is the glands of the clitoris, and it's analogous to the tip of the penis, and it's so sensitive, most people cannot touch it directly. It's got over 10,000 touch-sensitive nerve endings. Now, on top here of the clitoral hood is a mound of fatty tissue where you'll find hair. It's called the mons pubis, and it's very sexually responsive, because the inner clitoris, the clitoris is a big internal organ, and the legs run through here. So if you push there, that feels really good for a lot of people.
Whoa, I would push there then. This is what wait a minute.
So a lot of people will do this or push.
Yeah.
And then there's the vagina, right? That is a canal, and the the opening of the vagina and the inner third of vagina also has touch sensitive nerve endings. But the inner 2/3 doesn't have any touch sensitive nerve endings at all. It has pressure sensitive nerve endings, which is why you can wear a tampon and not feel it, because there's no touch receptors there. There's pressure receptors. So when aroused, a lot of women like the feeling of the fullness of the pressure. But really important, the vagina makes some changes when you're aroused. The front gets smaller, the back balloons out, and it lubricates, sometimes not enough, and you need external lubrication. But a lot of painful penetrative sex is due to having it before the vagina balloons out in the back and the cervix pulls up and out of the way, and before there's sufficient lubrication. So that's vulva.
From tomorrow, from now, it's only the vulva. That's all I'm saying. Vulvas. Throw your vulvas.
Throw your vulva.
Why do we call it? Be like calling it'd be like us calling the vagina, the whole thing a vagina would be like calling the penis a scrotum.